Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Brianna, but I recently changed my YouTube channel and all my handles to Vegan Brie because I'm vegan and I'm tired of people mispronouncing my name, my first name and my last name. And I don't know, I just wanted to kind of have like my own brand. And a lot of people call me Brie, to be honest. So yeah, Brianna just gets butchered in all of my last names. Married, maiden, first married name, second married name. Oh my god, just I'm tired of it. Like I said, I just kind of want to have my own little identity that's not like my name, but kind of my name. I don't know if that makes any sense, but whatever. So I kind of started posting consistently, but haven't really said like my story. And I'm very passionate when it comes to mental health. I've struggled and still struggle with my own mental health problems, such as I have PTSD. I also have ADHD, which isn't like mental, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of different. Like, I don't like calling it a disability, but it's like, I guess like, I don't know, I don't really like it being like an impairment, but it's just a nuisance. There you go. So anyway, that I've dealt with since I was a little kid. Like I was diagnosed at 5 and I still have it. Not as bad, not that it was bad in the first place, but it's definitely gotten better as I matured and as I am now an adult and have learned what works for me and what doesn't work for me, and I'm more like aware of things sometimes. Not perfect, no one's perfect, but yeah. I also have struggled with depression and anxiety. I literally, ever since I can remember, honestly, pretty young, I've dealt with depression and definitely anxiety, for sure. Different instances, or I don't know, just like looking at myself compared to other kids or other childhoods. Not that you should compare yourself, but sometimes you're like, that probably wasn't a normal reaction. Normal. Or typical, maybe like a typical reaction. There we go. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. So I have parents that are divorced. My parents divorced when I was 4, and well, separated when I was 4, officially divorced when I was 6. And it was a pretty tumultuous, like pretty messy divorce, pretty messy. Just my parents literally could not talk to each other for years. Since I graduated high school, they have talked more and can be around each other without having screaming matches and arguments and name calling and it being like ridiculously awkward. So I'm sure it's still probably awkward for both of them, but time has passed. It's been like over 20 years, so you don't necessarily forget, but you kind of like just move past it, you know? Especially since I've gone through my own divorce, which we'll get into. So anyway, yeah, that all happened. I have had a lot of just struggles with, I was an only child. And for me, dealing with my parents alone, especially when everybody in my family has siblings for the most part, is, I mean, I found being an only child kind of hard. It's just, I don't know, it's just so weird. Like, there's not a lot of only children out there, and I didn't really, that I can think of, I don't really know anyone that's an only child besides me. I do have a cousin that's an only child, but we have a pretty big age difference, so I really wouldn't like find that comparable. So yeah, most people that I know and grew up with were not only children, so I kind of didn't have a lot in common with that. You know, everybody had their siblings to talk to, or siblings to hang out with, or siblings to fight with or annoy. I have 3 stepsisters now, but I didn't grow up with siblings. And I also have a half sister on my dad's side who's 11. So my stepsisters, which I don't call them that, but I'm just going to call them that for this video so you don't get confused. But I'm never going to call them that again because that's not what I say. I don't say my half sister or my stepsister. I just don't do that. So anyway, my mom and stepdad got married when I was 14. I met him when I was 13. So, like I said, I didn't grow up with siblings. So it wasn't like a typical sibling kind of, you know, now we talk and everything like that. as we're all adults, but except for my half sister, which is so weird calling her that. I never call even my half sister, but anyway, I just called them like I said, my sisters. But yeah, it was, again, lonely. I feel like my parents tried their best, but I just had a hard time with it and struggled. I struggled when it came to my mom and my stepdad getting married. I was very selfish being a teenager, and it always been just my mom and I. So definitely went through some stuff, dark stuff then. Like looking back, that was like I don't know. Like I just lost it. Literally had a complete mental breakdown. Like it was just a bad time. Now I love him to death. He is my kid's grandpa. One of their many grandpas, but yeah, I just lost it. Had a hard time accepting it, had a hard time accepting my mom having somebody else besides me, all that stuff. So anyway, I've been in and out of therapy off and on since I was 4. So yeah. Then my uncle took his own life, which really affected me. We weren't exactly close, but it just was hard. I feel like when somebody takes their own life, it's like 2 deaths. It's like you find out that they passed away, but you found out that even though he was sick, I don't want to like air his business, but yeah, it's really hard. But it made me, I don't know, be more present and more like aware of mental health problems and aware of others that are struggling, and also I guess myself as well. So I became like, I feel like more passionate about mental health struggles. So anyway, next I also had a pain disorder my senior year up to my sophomore year of college. I had pelvic floor dysfunction disorder, which for me was cured by Botox, even though it should not be cured. I should still be struggling with it because Botox is only supposed to last like 6 months, but I had 2 rounds of it and I no longer have issues in that, like in that department. I was literally in pain where it was almost like I was having contractions every day for 2 years, all day. I had chronic UTIs, chronic yeast infections. My senior year was pretty rough. Sex was painful, so I had to be celibate. If you're my family member, you probably won't want to watch this. So, yeah. And it was just, like I said, really rough. I also, before I went to college, like literally it was a few weeks or like a month before I was sexually assaulted. So I had triggers from that, with my ears being touched, severe triggers. And then a few months later, literally a week after I was supposed to go to court, but that didn't happen. I don't like the R word, but that's what happened to me. So, yeah, and nothing happened from that. Actually had charges pressed on me, which were dropped and expunged. But, yeah, no one's had any consequences or been held accountable or anything. And I keep seeing this happen. Of course, every time I try to film my mental health or about my life video, it gets cut off or something happens with my phone, or I don't know. It's like, I need to get this posted. I need to like film this. It's already super hard to film this, just in general. So obviously different makeup and eye look because it's a completely different day. And I was watching it back just to see where I cut off. I had a lot of issues when it came to what happened to me. I lost friends. I didn't trust people, especially didn't trust guys. Had a lot of issues with guys. Had a lot of issues being by myself. I still have trust issues from that. It just was a lot. and I transferred schools because I could not deal with it. He literally lived. So, okay, here, this is my dorm. His dorm was across the hall, 2 doors down. But my school told me that even though he was stalking me and trying to harass me, my school told me they didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable, especially since I had charges pressed on me. So, yeah, that was fun. So, I went to community college, I went home, and then I was in community college for a semester, and then I went to a different school. And I still was having issues. Like, I remember that summer, actually, I was just having problems focusing. And I was like, is it my ADHD? Do I need to increase my meds? Like, what is going on? I had horrendous nightmares. Like, terrifying nightmares. Just waking up screaming. And I went to see a counselor, and didn't realize what she was doing, but she was reading the DSM-5, and she was like, "You have PTSD," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because when I thought of PTSD, I thought of like people in the war or like the military, that kind of stuff. When that's not true, it can be from any traumatic event. So that was really hard to accept, because like somebody telling you there's something like wrong with you is really hard. At least for me, I'm like, oh great, another one. So it's just, I don't know. It's like, oh, awesome, gonna deal with this now. And then, so then I transferred schools, went to a university again, different university, close to home. My sophomore year, a semester after I started at university again, I met my now ex-husband. We share a daughter together, my oldest, Arya. We were together for almost 8 years, married for 4. Well, legally, I guess like 6, I think, but like that I count 4. And together for like that almost 8 years total. Like, my mom told me all this stuff, but it's like you never really like get it until you're actually in that situation. But at least for me, when I got married, small things felt like big things after we got married. Getting married does not change somebody. If things were issues before you got married and they weren't resolved, they're going to continue to be issues. I don't think people change, and they definitely don't change because you want them to change. People change because they want to change, and you are only in control of your decisions and yourself, not in control of somebody else. There was a lot of issues that I could no longer tolerate, especially I feel like after we had our daughter, I was like, I just cannot do this anymore. Like, I feel like also after you have a child, little things become big things. They hurt more. It just becomes more personal because you share a child together. And that's almost like a bigger commitment than being married, honestly. If you're married and with a kid, it's like, that's like, pretty little kind of serious. So yeah, I decided to end things, and that was also really, really hard. I struggled a lot before we split, just knowing that it was the end. And when you get married, you just don't even think about getting divorced, or else you wouldn't obviously get married. You just think like, this is it. This is the person I'm going to be with the rest of my life. This is the love of my life. Everything's just going to be happy, 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 especially because I got married at 22. I was like almost 23, like a month before I turned 23, but still, that's not always how it works. Me at 22 to me now at 29. Well, my second husband, my now husband, we got married when I was 28, almost 29. So I have changed a lot in good ways, hopefully. Just things that are important to me. I'm a mom of 2 now. When I got married the first time, I wasn't married. And I don't know, it's just, even like looking at myself, I'm like, person is just, I felt very, I don't know, I thought I was happy, and I thought our relationship was always rocky, honestly. It was like we had really high highs and then super, super low lows, like a roller coaster relationship, which I don't really think that's a healthy marriage, but that's just me. Completely different to my relationship now. Like, so anyway, yeah. So then 2020 was supposed to be my year. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be single. I literally had a whole list of things I wanted to do, like a 2020 bucket list. And then that obviously did not happen because I got pregnant. We had this thing called a panorama. Kind of got in the way a little bit. But before that, I met my now husband pretty fast, unexpectedly. Good, unexpectedly. But still, I had a 18-month-old and was still kind of figuring out everything. My whole world got kind of flipped upside down, like how I thought my life was going to go. And it like worked out for the best, obviously. But February, found out we were pregnant. And this is my now husband, by the way. I was going through a divorce. That was just, we were also moving in together. Then we found out about the whole, whole panorama. Literally the day of our ultrasound when we confirmed our pregnancy was the day everything shut down. April, we're about to announce her pregnancy to everybody, do a pregnancy reveal, gender reveal, and we found out early about the gender. She's a girl, by the way. And I got a subchorionic hemorrhage. It's bleeding. I thought we lost her. I don't think I've ever cried that hard. And I've cried a lot. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. Like, that's my daughter. It's my kid. So yeah. And we really, honestly, I thought we were going to lose her. Like, I was bleeding so much. It was awful. Awful, awful, awful. And I kept thinking, like, I just don't know how much more I can go through. But thankfully, she's perfect, healthy. But I was on bed rest pretty much most of my pregnancy because of that, which made it really hard. Pregnancy was so rough, especially compared to Aria's. Aria's was like a complete piece of cake compared to Liv, which also was kind of traumatizing. Not kind of, it was. Then had Liv, and I had postpartum. But I'm going to do a whole video on that. And now I would say I'm trying to figure things out. Like, I'm trying to figure out, it's like, okay, I'm married, I'm in a healthy, good relationship, we're buying a house. I have everything that I want and everything that I've dreamed of, but I'm almost 30, be 30 in August, and it's like, I want to feel more like established, like a friend group with like, I don't know, I want to get become more of the vegan community in Frederick, figure Frederick out, become more social. Just, it's like hard to make friends as an adult, but that is just that's my life. Let me know if you guys have any questions. That was literally, this, like I said, my third time filming this, and it was really, really, really hard. But I feel so much better. That was really actually therapeutic for me. And if you guys made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Please subscribe, like, and leave a comment.